Yeah, they added that. Yeah, I think I put that in the chat. But yeah, they seemingly have just been adding stuff kind of randomly. Like I'll just be like, oh, I didn't know they added anything, and then all of a sudden there's a bunch of new like Super Nintendo games and stuff.
Yeah, I went to like the Nintendo. I hadn't booted the NES in so long.
Sure.
Yeah, there's like quite a few. Yeah,
there's a ton, but also like they're all stuff that I have no interest in playing.
A lot of weird import stuff.
Yeah. Which is cool. Like, I think that's really cool. But at the same time, I'm like, well, now I need to sort this because I've arranged all of these.
Well, the annoying thing is, like, it seems like it just unsorts it every time you, like, every time they add new stuff, it, like, kind of re-defaults to, like, the old, or just, like, puts all the new shit, like, right at the top. Like, get this
Nintendo.
Hey, everybody. Welcome to Pursuing Pixels. My name's Kevin Portelli, I'm here tonight with John Hines.
Hey there.
And Randall Nolery.
Hey, folks.
And we are back, as always, to talk about some video games. Another week, another Wednesday. Once again. I'm loving it. I got to tell you guys, like last week, it was so much nicer not having to do that quick turnaround on Friday morning. So I'm loving doing these Wednesdays.
It is
I
nice.
feel like I'm kind of like geeked up with Mario Wonder coming out right around the corner. I'm gonna actually try to use that to like as an excuse to like springboard back into streaming a little bit. I really want to try to stream some of that Mario Wonder if I get a chance to over the weekend.
A 2D Mario game that's not a new Super Mario game is kind of a big deal. Like it really has been a long ass time.
Yeah, and it feels like they're sort of treating it that way. You know, they're kind of framing it as like, hey, this is like kind of a new entry and almost a new series, if you will, even though it does look kind of similar to those new Super Mario Brothers games. But yeah, I'm pretty pumped to jump into that soon. But yeah, we've been digging into some other video game stuff this week. So why don't we kick it over to Randall with a little bit of a Resident Evil update since you're still chipping away at that. I feel like it's just
Mario.
It's the perfect way to start off these episodes.
Resident Evil
with a little update.
Yeah,
yeah.
I've gushed enough about Resident Evil 4 remake, and I told y'all I was playing the separate ways. Mm-hmm. I still stuck with the separate ways. I've completed the separate ways.
Nice.
Credits.
Nice.
On separate ways, but because Resident Evil 4 is so endlessly replayable, I think it's gonna stay installed on the Xbox. I'm probably gonna see it through again because it is just a roller coaster ride, and there are like so many things that like if you didn't complete this, Stranger, the guy that sells you shit, will give you these there'll be these like blue slips up on the wall that you can see from time to time, and they're little like side quests, or like kill the 3 bugs in this area, like wipe them out, or like go find this fish, or like there'll be random like sell Stranger like 2 of these rare beetles, and I only found 1 rare beetle, so I failed that. Like there are so many little itsy bitsy reasons to like come back and do the roller coaster all over again, right? And if you want to, you can play on a harder difficulty. You can keep all the shit that you already unlocked into your new playthrough. And, like, it's got all that stuff, too, right? So, yeah, Separate Ways was, to me, just as good and just as fun and interesting as the main game was. Like I said before, it all ties in together. That followed through to the conclusion. Just kind of wraps up just like the main campaign does, just from Ada's perspective. So, yeah, man. Resident Evil 4 Remake. If you have an ability to play that, I would recommend checking it out. Especially now. It's been, a little while. Maybe it'll start getting discounted to some degree if you have some platform to grab it on. I would recommend checking that out. I had quite the time with it.
Nice. Yeah, I'm glad to hear that it just continued that roller coaster ride. Yeah, I'm definitely going to grab, even though I was not the hugest fan whenever I played it way back when. I'm definitely curious enough about this remake and like the way it changes the dynamic of the gameplay and whatnot. And like whenever I get either a PS5 or an Xbox Series X, and I'm sure they'll like bundle the DLC and the game together. It's, discounted at some point, even though I'm sure the whole thing is like $30 for the whole package, or is the
wouldn't surprise me
a little
at this
more?
Point. Yeah, like because Separate Ways was a $10 separate DLC on Resident Evil 4, and I think I I should have looked at the save. I always play these sort of games like slower than you have to, just to like check every nook and cranny and corner, right? Like I did it with Last of Us. And they reward
that type of gameplay too.
Yeah. So it had to have been, over 10 hours. Not that that's even the most important factor. I had fun regardless of how long it took, but it was well worth the money, all that to say.
Clearly, I'm totally down with, those Uncharted games, which the first 3 games are about 8 to 10 hours in and of themselves, and I was totally happy to spend $60 on those and not really think twice about it. Obviously you can get those for a steal as well now. Like the trilogy bundle or whatever. Yeah. I'm sure they have the quadrilogy bundle at this point too, but it's just to think of the value of like a video game and what's a DLC, what's not, because it's like, could they have released that as a totally standalone game?
I think they could have.
Maybe, probably, if it's 10 hours long. Definitely.
I think they could have. They didn't, but they could have. Yes.
Yeah. Even if it was, like if, let's say, Resident Evil was full price and then that game came out as like $40, because I know they've done that quite a few times, even with Uncharted. Like they had that Lost Legacy or whatever it was called.
Yeah, which got pretty good reviews too. I never got around to playing it, but yeah.
Yeah, same. And it looked cool though. Yeah. And I think that one came out at like $40 instead of $60. So I feel like they totally could have done something like that, at whatever price point with these too. And easily, quote unquote, gotten away with that without anyone being mad. So
it very much has me curious about Village, which was like the next like third person, a little bit more actiony Resident Evil. And Capcom is always putting those on sale, right? All the Resident Evil and anything else they have in their library. There's always a sale every quarter at least, right? So I'm curious.
Yeah. I thought Village was first person just because I thought 7 was.
Seven was first person.
That was like the VR one.
Yeah. I think if I I haven't looked a lot into Village, but I thought I thought it was third person. Maybe I'm wrong on that.
Or maybe you can do either or. I know there's a lot of games that you can flip flop. So
yeah. But I want more. I'll say that. I was very very pleased.
You've talked me into it for a game that I otherwise probably wouldn't have considered myself interested in revisiting. So
yes,
nice.
Yes.
Well, why don't we kick it over to John, who I think just has some kind of general thoughts, but I know you've been playing some like Genshin card game that spawned some thoughts, because we were talking in the Discord earlier too, and we were just like, oh, there's a lot of meat on that bone.
Yeah, so I've been, as I always need to, whenever I bring up Genshin, I need to have the disclaimer to don't play Genshin. Play a different game.
Hey, we just had Hernick in the Discord was just saying, against John's better judgment, I dove into Genshin.
No, this is not what I want to do.
But not that they weren't agreeing with you on a ton of points, but yeah, they were just like, I'm having fun, but like I totally see what John's talking about.
Yeah, that's woof. But one of the ways that I've been kind of taking the gas off and like even, I don't know, trying something new or using my downtime as my like daily game or whatever. They did introduce, I think I mentioned this a while back on the podcast, a trading card game in the game itself. And it is based off of the combat in the Genshin series, so that has a lot of different elemental reactions and there's equipment and artifacts that you can have, as well as other support characters and summons, and if you've played Hearthstone or any other kind of separate, I'm trying to think of like what makes it different from a Slay the Spire or a Dicey Dungeons. Like there are different genres even within card game. I was talking about a Neon White, which technically has cards in it, even though it really doesn't feel like it's card-based combat. Like it's
like the way you're describing it to me reminds me more of like maybe not quite as in depth, or maybe it is. I don't know, but it sounds more like Magic the Gathering. Then
are there characters? Do you have like playable characters or a team in Magic the Gathering? Because I always still feel like that's like
creatures, but not
teams. You like summon like creature cards. Like you spend like your mana, which is like your land points, to like summon. It's been a long time since I played Magic, but like you summon your creature cards, and then that's who like either attacks for you or gets attacked and like absorbs damage for you.
Did we talk about? I should have checked this before.
Magic the Gathering is fun.
It is fun.
But I was also thinking of SteamWorld Quest, where like they had that was more in the same vein as like Bot and Kaidos of the like turn-based deck as your attacks that you have available to you.
Right.
And you kind of have that with this game as well in Genshin. It's Genius Invocation TCG is what it's called. And which is also a Genshin Impact anagram. No, what's the word I'm looking for?
I just thought TCG meant trading card game.
Yeah, TCG is, but
gotcha.
Genshin Impact Genius Invocation, the GI. But it's really fascinating to see how, because this is completely secondary to the game. None of the rewards you get from playing this game go anywhere else in Genshin Impact. I think maybe if you do enough, then you get Primo Gems, which are the second level of meta currency that you use to purchase or gamble on new characters and weapons and stuff. So it's so far removed from having any actual like carryover to the like main game proper, so that it is so self-contained that I ignored it for a lot of time.
Sure.
But it is very complex and has its own like systems. Like you're still playing as the playable characters that you have in the game, and each of them have their own attacks that are different. And so you're mostly rolling die to use those attacks. And it really just got me thinking about how a lot of those encounters or one-on-one duels that you have with NPCs like kind of go or are scripted. This is a thing we kind of talked about in the Discord, how it feels like it's an incredibly meticulously balanced game that if you are playing the optimal hand every single hand, you will most likely win in like the exact amount of turns that will get you every like the highest amount of coins to use in whatever the secondary market is in this like thing. So it's like every time I'm like, am I playing this game as best? Am I getting better at playing this card game, or is this card game built to like maximize the
just
amount
reward you indefinitely kind of.
And where it feels like, oh, you won on right the exact turn that you needed to like get all of the rewards on your first go. Is like, is that because I'm good at this, or is that because that's how the game is balanced? And does it really matter if there's a distinction between the two? Like, is that what playing a card game is, or a deck building game is? Is it just learning the systems and trying to do the best possible move at every, like, based on what cards you draw or what dice you roll?
Or exploiting the combinations that might be there through your creativity, if it allows for that, right, within the systems.
And that's the deck building part of it, where you're trying to, like, put in a good, like, as I'm playing it more, I'm like, oh, I don't use this card, or like, I don't like the situations where I'll have to like, that I need in order to play this card. So I'll take that out of my deck. And like, this one comes in more often. And like, that's fun. I enjoy doing that. Like, that's a thing that I don't feel very often in like, maybe even like, Slay the Spire is one that I'm thinking of, where like, that is one that has like customization of the deck, but it still has so much randomness.
Yeah, you're kind of just leaning into what you get dealt in that particular run or whatever character you're playing as, but you're kind of like, okay, I'm getting this kind of buff. Okay, I'm just like trashing all these cards that maybe on another, which is a very cool way to, take deck building, because you're not even really necessarily building a deck so much. I mean, you're adding cards to your deck in a run, but like for the most part, you're just kind of like, leaning into like the various buffs and upgrades and stuff. And I guess the effects of the cards and stuff too. But
I think you have unlocks in those runs too, though, that can that adds a new spice to what's available to you. It's
been a while since I played that. Yeah.
Right.
It's very much the roguelike formula applied to deck building.
Yes.
Where it's like, these are the upgrades.
Whereas, like we talked about a little in the Discord too, and we've talked about on the podcast before, like I was talking about cards with personalities, and we talked about the Pico 8 version and then the like newer upgraded version of that. And as much as I love that game, it is kind of like, I felt like I was like, okay, you go to the next boss, you kind of learn there. And I guess it's how RPG, and this is what we were talking about in the Discord too, because that's like what every game is, even just like a boss battle in a Mega Man game. You just learn the pattern of the boss, and you know, there's a little more involved, in my mind at least, like you got to also execute the maneuvers and movements in a Mega Man game, whereas like in a deck building game, once you know how to do it, you just have to literally click on the right cards, so there's like maybe a little less satisfaction.
There's still like a managing of resources that happens in some of these card games, I would say.
Setting up the dominoes and letting them fall like does feel good once you like have like the trick or the strategy hammered out. Solving
the game, if you will, or solving the run in some cases. Like in Slay the Spire, you're not going to solve the game every time, but you might just be like, oh man, I'm like unstoppable if I just keep like stacking these cards together and leaning into this upgrade.
Oh yeah.
So, but yeah, I do think that's really interesting how that all comes together. And I like, are you buying like booster packs in Genshin at all? Like with real currency or fake currency or anything like that?
That is the fascinating thing about it being called a trading card game, is there's no part of it that is like a trading card game. Like it is just a deck building game, and like you only have 30 cards that you can have in your like deck at a time.
30, wow.
You pick 3 characters, and then you have 30 cards, and their attacks are already equipped. So it's really just kind of like managing, like, okay, you have 8 die to roll. Like you want to make sure that you are rolling the die of the element of the character you're using, or that you at least roll enough pairs or triples that you can spend them on the cards or the attacks that you have. Whereas like when I think of a trading card game, I do think of something like the Pokemon trading card game, where it's like, oh yeah, I'm buying
like a collecting element. There's
getting a bunch of
collecting
different
side.
Characters or a bunch of different cards. Whereas like this one is like, yeah, you only have 1 card of this type, like, or up to like 2 max of every card, and you just buy them, like with the currency you get as you like play more characters. And
so does achieving the optimum result, like you said, does that just give you the currency to do that, or does it also give you exclusive cards or unlocks that way?
It gives you cosmetic stuff. Okay. So like it makes you can unlock the like holofoil version of every card.
There you go.
And like
Holo
there
Charizard,
are
baby.
Yes, there's extra like when you unlock a character, if you beat them within like one with like there are always like 3 levels of like you have to beat them. If you beat them, you pass the first level. If you beat them within 5 turns, you get the second level. And if you beat them with losing less than 2 of your 3 characters, so if you only have 1 character faint or KO or whatever in the match, then you get all 3. And the third one is when you unlock like the first one you unlock the character, second one you unlock their talent card, and the third one you unlock a second talent card. I never have 2 talent cards in my deck at any time. So like I just need to beat the 2 levels, and then I have 100% of what I need, like technically. So like there's really not a reason to keep replaying this game because I have all of the cards that I am ever going to use. And
is it fun?
Yeah.
Because that's a reason to keep playing it if it's fun.
I enjoy it. I enjoy learning. And like what I'm trying to do now is I'm just trying to like go in with new combinations and new cards and stuff that I've never used and seeing if I can still do it. Yeah. And then every once in a while, like I'll just completely eat shit and be like, fine, I'm going to go to the deck that I know that will work.
Of course.
So I'm making my own fun. In the same way that I do in every open world game or whatever. Is like,
well, kind of like you've been doing with Genshin in general. I feel like you've just been making it work, like working around the loot boxes and stuff, or whatever you want to call them, and not spending too much money on the game itself. And found another way to milk some fun out of the game, or at least a distraction. Sometimes you just need like a game to fire up that's just like something to occupy your mind while you got a podcast on, or a TV show on, or
100% it.
NBA 2K, baby.
Well, that's kind of if you're good to leave that there, John, that's kind of a perfect transition into what I've been doing. And I've talked about it a few times on the Save It for the Cast recently, and even just in some of the stuff that I've talked about recently on the podcast. I've just been kind of like bouncing around, or even at the top. I feel like I've been in a little bit of like a gaming rut lately. You know, I just haven't like ever since like the Game Maker's Toolkit Game Jam from this year. Like I played a bunch of those games on a stream, and I think I've done a couple small ones since then, but I feel like that's when like the juices were like really last flowing, and now I'm just kind of like, I mean, I'm playing Mario Kart with my friends here and there and having some fun. We played the other day, and I actually had my best showing yet. We had some internet issues and like kind of got started later than usual, but I was like, switch it up, busted out Kamek, which is one of the new characters.
Oh yeah,
and, like,
yeah.
Also busted out these huge like orange monster truck tires, and for whatever reason, like I was actually kind of having trouble steering, but I was just like, I'm kind of hanging on most of these. Like I won the very first race we did, and then not that I haven't won a race before, but like I don't know, I was definitely like not coming in last of all the human players for once. So,
total side tangent, but 150cc, that's too fast for me. 100cc is my
for me.
No. Randall
no.
and I are in the same boat. We're not.
Yeah.
If
We're
someone
scrubs.
ever boots up 50 or
It's
100,
like we're having
I'm
a
just
nice
like,
drive.
we're not
here.
even. Why are we even
150cc
playing
is too
this
much,
game?
man. I'm going in every wall. What are we doing here?
We do 150, and we do. They put it on frantic items, which is kind of nice because
What does that mean?
All it mean, I actually asked for clarification this time. So I was like, what does that mean? That seems like it seems nothing out of the ordinary. But when you're in like the more front places, not necessarily first, but if you're in like second, third, and maybe even first too, you get stuff like more like green shells and red shells instead of like just bananas and coins all the time.
More action oriented.
Little more chaos on the items. It honestly
More
doesn't really
proactive
feel.
items.
Yeah, it doesn't feel that much different to me. Honestly, like I never really notice a huge difference. But I guess you don't get as many bananas and coins. I will say that
Fair
for
enough.
sure. But I'm also very rarely in first.
So you're not playing the meta MK8 strategy, which is just get as many coins as you can so that you can unlock every track and car.
I do have most of the stuff unlocked now, finally, I think. But yeah, the coins though give you speed too. Like that.
I know they give you
speed. So
top speed.
That's a huge factor. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm just amazed that I'm still unlocking parts at this point in the game. Like
it's wild. I know. It's wild. I did just recently stop when I started playing with my buddies back home. I was like finally unlocked like the last of the stuff. I feel like I've played enough now and haven't unlocked anything in a while. That
got one more wave, baby.
I was gonna say they might add some new stuff. You never know. But on that note, though, I've just been kind of bouncing around on my Switch and playing some other stuff. And I mentioned on a recent Save It for the Cast that I fired up Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, and I didn't talk about it too much because I know this is one of John's favorite Kirby games.
They're all my favorites. It's one of my most beloved just in terms of it being so unique in the series.
Yeah, and I think I just kind of associate it with you because I had never really played much of it, and you were like, oh, I love that game. So I was like, okay, that's a John game. But anyways, I fired it up finally, and I mentioned this on the Save It for the Cast, but like the main thing I'm really loving about it is just the way it looks. Like it's just a gorgeous game. It just kind of reminds me of, or just like I kind of forgot how good looking some of those Game Boy Advance games are. Even like Mario and Luigi's Superstar Saga. I've been firing up WarioWare on there recently, which has like kind of a weird like zany style, but really cool. Like just so vibrant, some of those games. But yeah, back to Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. I was playing that, and being a more modern Kirby game, and being one that I hadn't really played much of, I was kind of like expecting the combat to be like really more like, because some of the more modern Kirby games, or at least some of the ones that I was thinking of, because I fired up Kirby Superstar as well, which had some of the combat that I was kind of thinking of, where it feels almost more like Super Smash Brothers style, whereas the Kirby and the Amazing Mirror not quite as much, like where there's like kind of like when you have a different power up, there's like a different move if you're like running, like if you have fire and you're in Kirby Superstar, for example. I don't remember exactly what power up it is, but like if you're running and you jump and like do an attack, you'll like do like that dash where you turn into a fireball and dash across the screen. But if you're just standing there and press and hold down, you like just shoot out like a flamethrower or whatever. And then you can also like hold it down and then press up or press down, and you can kind of angle your breath upwards or downwards. Or if you have cutter, you can also like aim that like boomerang, slice thing up or down. But I've been really kind of like, apart from the visuals with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, I've also really been enjoying all the different power-ups, but also been a little disappointed that there's not as much depth to like the combat. Like I don't know if it's just Kirby Superstar, because I feel like there was a more recent one where I remember like you can pause the game and it kind of tells you like the different. I think it was one of the ones on DS. It might have been like Kirby Triple Deluxe, maybe. I don't know.
Yes, those definitely
one of those
had
Kirby
them.
games.
That was the thing that I
Squeak Squad, maybe.
They may all have had. I think the thing is that I think it started back up with Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. Like that was a thing that was in Superstar and then wasn't in another Kirby game until Amazing Mirror. So like that was a feature that, because I don't know if you've gotten this literal power up in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror, Kevin, or if you don't want me to spoil the power ups in a Kirby game.
I don't mind. The one thing I will say, the power ups are really cool. Like there's like some really cool, unique one off, or at least ones that I haven't seen.
I love the one
in other Kirby games, and then there were even some ones where I was like, oh man, it's kind of a bummer that they don't have like the laser in this game, and then all of a sudden like the little laser, I think I said this on the Save for the Cast too, but all of a sudden like this little laser sun thing comes like floating over and starts blasting me. It looks like a little orange is what it always reminded me of, and I was like, oh, there it is. So but there's like some cool one-off ones like the ninja and like a few other, like the fighter is a little unique. I love doing like those uppercuts and stuff, but I'm about 30%, which is more than I expected to be through like the campaign as far as like the save file or whatever. But yeah, what's this power up you're talking about, John?
They have Smash.
Meaning
it's the Kirby moveset from Super Smash Brothers. And the
awesome.
Ability is just called Smash. And it does have that like left, right, up, down moveset.
Oh, that's fantastic. Because Kirby was one of my favorite characters in 64.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Oh, that's awesome.
I think that another thing that I really love about Amazing Mirror is that like it has so many puzzles in it that are like around those. And it has, because it's a like Metroidvania with a bunch of branching paths, and like a lot of them are like one-way doors that like you need to go through and then do a puzzle with a power up. And if you don't do it, then you kind of have to like redo a loop in the map to get back to that spot. And like usually they're like not necessary there if you're going for 100%, like I have been in every friggin' Kirby game I've ever played. But like there's stuff like unlocking a song in the soundtrack, or unlocking another color palette for Kirby to be.
I was just looking through like the collectible stuff and saw some of that stuff, and I was like, oh, that's really cool how you can like spray paint Kirby and like it just shows all the things, even just like the maps you collect and stuff. I will say like that aspect of it, like where you have to kind of like loop and go through the doors and stuff, is like a little tedious for me, and like because it's got to have the right power up. It is easy enough in most cases to reset and just go through a couple doors a couple times and rip through it. But I do kind of prefer, as always, I prefer a slightly more linear experience. But then on top of that, if it is going to be a Metroidvania, I kind of wish it were like a little bit more of a traditional Metroidvania map where I'm not like having to also remember like, wait, which door did I go through? Like,
oh no.
It's the way it's like laid out. It's just kind of like these dotted lines that just branch to like, it's relatively intuitive, because it will be like in like, you'll be like, okay, the door that's kind of at the top left of this like room that I'm in, kind of it goes to this dotted line that seems to be going off the top left of the point that I'm at. But it's like, it's just kind of confusing a little bit. Like even more confused. Like at least when I'm going in a loop and lost in a Metroidvania, I'm like, I know where I am in the map. Or like in Kirby, I'm kind of like, where am I? Have I done this already? I can't remember. But like other than that, I am really enjoying it. Like I haven't played it in a couple days, but I am really having a good time and plan to keep going with it.
I don't know if you've noticed, but also if you've ever been through a door before, or if you haven't been through a door before, the like outline of there will be a like circular halo around the star over the door. And if you have been through it, it won't have that. There's a lot of like,
nice.
I've noticed some visual cues where I could tell that it was different than before, but I didn't know like what triggered it or whatever. But I know what you're talking about, because there's been like where I was like, oh, this door looks like juicier than the ones I've been to before. Like it looks like it's calling my name more than some of the other ones.
Yeah, it's
but
weird.
Even all the different like teleport mirror portals, you're just like, wait, this one goes to this one, and then it'll just take you to another room that has another teleporter in it. You're like, I mean, it's once you get it, like I feel like you're better at internalizing an in-game map than I am, because I just for whatever reason I can't quite.
I'm trash at it too.
Yeah, I can't quite commit those to memory, especially when they're not like I'm a little better at it when it's like a 3D like Breath of the Wild kind of thing, but even that not so much, but like definitely not when it's like 2D branching and I don't have a direct 1-to-1 map to look at, you know.
I think this is also just a product of the time when it was made, like before Metroidvanias had their resurgence and like before that like formula got hammered out and perfected, so like you could have a kind of weird clunky version of it and like have it just be like, oh, this is really interesting that like Kirby did this, without it being like, oh my God, we've like gone through all the pitfalls now. We know not to do this or to communicate this better. And like, I think also me probably having played it as like a tween, I had like a lot more time to devote to a game. So I like could just like sit down and be like,
run around in circles.
Hell yeah.
Do the same loop 10 times and not be like,
well, another thing
bored.
too is like the game does have, even though it's like exploration focused, it kind of has this like frantic quality to it because you can just like get around so fast, and it also has like the built-in ability to like hook up the link cables and play multiplayer up to 4 players.
Which I love that they did that.
Like on single player, you can just like basically hit a button that calls, like Kirby just calls all the other Kirbys on his cell phone and just is like, hey, come give me a hand, and like they just start like helping you out in battle, or you can like just go like give them a hug and they recover some of your health. Which is super
give
cute.
Him a smooch.
I almost feel like it's like designed for multiplayer. You know, it's kind of meant for almost like everyone to be roaming around and going all over the place and just being like, oh, hey guys, let's go over here. Or hey, I'm taking care of the northwest corner of the map. It definitely seems like it's meant to just almost be like, hey, let's all fire this up and speed run it. Not necessarily speed run, but just rip our way through this game like that. Actually, we should try to do that.
I
you
love
can
that.
do like the link cable stuff. That would actually be a lot of fun.
Oh man, I'm such
My
a
fondest memories of this
and I'm
game
never actually going to do it with a link cable. You know, when are we all going to be in the same room with 3 Game Boy Advances and link cables to hook them up?
You know, I do have 3 Game Boy Advances and at least 2
I have some link cables somewhere. I've got them somewhere. Just in case you ever got to hook them up to the GameCube too. You know, I still have those GameCube connectors.
Yep.
But yeah, I was gonna say, like, my fondest memories of that game are playing it in like my friend's basement with 3 of us on like the like daisy chained link cable of this game.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I will say, the main thing, it's just been a lot of fun to like see a lot of those power, because I have a ton of nostalgia for the Kirby series too. Mostly like I still prefer like the structure of like Kirby's Adventure, just like going through the, you know, have like overworld kind of screen. You're going into the door and then you just have a level kind of straightforward, but there's tons of secrets packed into those levels if you're going for 100%. Like I prefer more that kind of exploration over this, but that being said, it's still really cool to just see like, I don't know, Kirby, I don't know, coming to life with all the, I just love the way these pixels like sing. I don't know how else to explain it, but
yeah, it's a weirdly unique Kirby game, and it's kind of hard to pinpoint why.
Yeah, because it's like kind of straightforward. There's nothing like, it's not doing anything all that different, but it is like, it has an energy to it that feels unlike the regular Kirby games. And it kind of, I mentioned it on the Save for the Cast too, but it's like developed by Flagship Studio, I think, which is like a Capcom team that worked on Minish Cap as well, which you can kind of see like that pixel art kind of, you can see like that detail and the way like the movement, everything just feels really expressive and animated.
That 32-bit like pixel art of the time is so time and place too. Like Game Boy Advance is such a time capsule that way, and it didn't last that long. Like that was only 3 or 4 years of a heyday before DS kind of ate its lunch because they were so worried about the PSP at that time. It just like treasure those cartridges that came out during that time. It was like
was
the last
it really
we got
only that long?
Yeah.
Good God, what the hell?
And think about how many good games still
I know, like it's one of like my I was about to say like it was my largest library, but I'm like, no, that's DS. Like
it's like 2001 to 2004, basically the heyday. And this was late for that.
Yeah. But I do still miss, like, when I fired up Kirby Superstar, like, one of the things I forgot, like, the power-ups are pretty different in that game. Like, the beam power-up that you get, like, it's not just, like, normally it's just, like, that kind of arcing, like, sweeping 45-degree angle thing, which it is if you stand still, but if you're, like, running, Kirby, like, does this, like, twist thing, and it, like, spins like a tornado, like, cyclone thing in front of you, which with way longer... It just, like... I don't know. I miss like I was expecting Kirby and the Amazing Mirror to have a little more of that going on, which apparently it does if you get to that Smash power up at least. So I
think if you're going from it from like another 2D, I don't know, like I was going from like Nightmare in Dreamland and like Kirby 64. Like I never played Superstar before. Like I played Superstar well after the fact.
Same.
And
I didn't play it at the time either. Yeah, I played it more recently.
Yeah, and like I'm a known Kirby Superstar hater. It's my
I gotta
least
say I don't
favorite.
love that one either. Yeah, I'm not the hugest fan on that one either.
It's too like segmented, right? There's just what am I supposed to do here?
None of the elements of it have enough meat on their bone to like for me to love it enough. Even though they're all cool, but I'm just kind of like
But like Kirby's Adventure is such like a standalone like classic package.
Yeah, that's still my favorite. You know, I think. Other than Epic Yarn, I still think is actually like I know it's not a traditional Kirby game, but that's probably my favorite.
Oh, it's phenomenal though.
And Dreamland 3 and its remake Kirby 64, like those are always going to be high up on my list.
Yeah,
I was actually when I was thinking about not to sidetrack here, but when I was thinking about Epic Yarn the other day, I was thinking about Yoshi, Woolly World, and Crafted World,
which are fantastic too.
I was like, what if Good Feel made a Wario Land?
Let's go, baby. Let's fucking go.
That would be so. They'd be perfect for that.
Yes, they would.
It'd be that just would be so awesome.
Yeah, it's time.
Wait, didn't they do Wario?
Oh, did they? They might have done Shake It. Actually,
I think they did Shake It. I'm pretty sure that was Good Feel.
You might be right on that.
Now I'm gonna have to look it up.
And I guess one last thing too that I would just wanted to mention too, while I'm kind of talking
about
those
thoughts. They did do Shake It.
Hell yeah, baby! I remember looking this up.
I'd love to see them do another one. You know what? We might have even talked about it. It might have even been in a Save It for the Cast episode.
But it's such a good game. That is such phenomenal. A good title.
I never played enough of that one. I only played like enough of it to know that it was good. But I never finished it or anything.
Yeah.
But yeah, I did fire up again. I've just been kind of like in my gaming rut, bouncing around on my Switch, and I fired up Earn Limited, and I kind of had some like similar thoughts about that with like Kirby and the Amazing Mirror because it's a cool game. I fired it up a long time ago. I think I didn't look it up on our spreadsheet, but I'm pretty sure I talked about it when like way back when DJ was on the podcast in like the very, very early days. Like one of our very first episodes, I think I brought it up, and it's kind of like this puzzle platformer, emphasis on the puzzle side of things with or from the developer of Knit or Knit. I never know how to say that.
And
Yinglet. I think I read somewhere though that like you're supposed to pronounce the K in some specific way.
You don't pronounce the K in the KN as someone with.
That's what I think too. But yeah, I can't remember on like some wiki I saw it somewhere. But regardless, I love that game and I really love Yinglet. But unfortunately, Earn Limited, I kind of was just like, again, you're going through all these different doors and you're exploring all over the place and you got to pick up these boxes kind of like Super Mario Brothers 2 style over your head and you got to like carry them all through the doors, but only certain doors that are tall enough to fit you when you're, as I hit the microphone here. But only doors that are tall enough to like actually fit you through them when you're holding something over your head, but you're like trying to collect stuff and bring them back to this hub world, kind of Kirby and the Amazing Mirror style. Not that you're bringing stuff back to the hub in Kirby, but you're like, you're collecting the mirror pieces and like unlocking that hub zone. And this, you're kind of doing that too. And there's like cool stuff. Like a lot of the blocks you pick up, like sometimes you pick up like a bird. They're like creatures and stuff. So you're picking up a bird that then gives you the ability to fly for short distances. So there's like some cool level design elements and exploration elements, but like there's just so many layers of and at least for now, there's no map for me to reference. So I'm just like kind of roaming around, like, where am I going? What am I trying to accomplish? Like I'm eventually going to accomplish something, but I'm just kind of like, I don't know. It's like a cool game, but it's just not quite grabbing me at the moment, at least. But still, like, I don't know. It's from Raw Fury. It's from a developer I love. I'm just kind of like, there's something there that I'm maybe missing, or it's just not grabbing me. And the controls are kind of weird too. Like you're just the button choices and you can't remap them, so it's just kind of awkward. But what were you about to say, John?
No, I was just thinking about like the map in Kirby and the Amazing Mirror. How like before you actually unlock a map, you'll get the like rooms but without any lines drawn between them, and like you won't see any of the like rooms that you haven't been to. So like that level of like abstraction with the map I also just love. Like I
do think that's pretty cool. It makes you feel like, oh, I'm in a new area, but even that I'm like, wait, haven't I been here already, or have I? It's just like
so difficult to see track. Oh, it's great. It's
a game that honestly
obscure.
How nice would it be? How nice would it be to have that game on DS with that dual screen where you could just like reference that map at any point in time? You know, that would definitely be nice. Or even tap on the map to teleport fast travel or something.
Dual screen for the map.
Yeah, that would definitely be nice. But yeah, I don't know. I've still been bouncing around. Like I said, I'm hoping I can kind of kickstart my get out of my gaming rut with some Mario Wonder and maybe do some streaming this weekend. The family's going out of town, so I got the house to myself for a few days. So I'm like, I'm gonna get some gaming.
Crank that Mario baby.
Yeah, exactly. Get some gaming in. Try to get back on track here. So I don't know. Any other stuff we want to chat about before we wrap things up tonight, guys?
No, sir.
Nothing.
All right. Sounds good. Well, as always, you can find us on the internet at pursuingpixels.com and pretty much anywhere else if you just look up Pursuing Pixels. And otherwise, we will catch you next week. And until then, take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye. Did you see that Analog's making a Nintendo 64 also?
Yep.
No.
That's a fucking thing.
No, I didn't see that.
That's a thing.
Oh, no. How
They're going to
much?
take more of
Same
my money
price
next
point?
year.
Same price point as like the last few consoles?
It doesn't matter. I mean, it does matter.
they haven't said.
But I'm going to buy it regardless, so I guess it doesn't matter. Yeah.
They haven't announced the price point or whatever?
No, they have not.
Okay.
Mine
Typically,
still
you're talking
works, so
200-ish.
That's one. I mean, if I had more expendable income, I'd definitely be interested. But that's like of the ones they've made, I'm like, I could live without the 64 one.
Nice,
I could live
to the
without all of
fly.
them because I don't have any of them. But
yeah, I was gonna say like honestly the Switch online service or platform that has the closest library to what I actually own is the 64 library.
That's fair.
Like it's really just like some random third party titles, like, and then everything is like, nah, this is kind of everything I want to play already on this.
I was just skimming through like a quick video. I can't remember. I just saw some video pop up on YouTube about Quest 64, and I was like,
hell yeah, baby!
So I skimmed through it real quick, and I gotta admit that it looked pretty dang cool.
It looks
like
sick.
The actual,
it's such a good
the vibe
game.
and like even the movement of the character. I was like, this looks way more fluid than I expected. Like I was like, I'm kind of digging this.
I mean, there were better games coming out at that point. Like,
but the combat looked kind of cool, like the way there's like that like kind of laser like grid that forms around you that you like can't exit, or I don't know. It looks really
sick
cool.
as shit, and it's your area of attack, and you have the C buttons for the 4 elements, and the more you use them, the more powerful they get.
I definitely want to check that game out.
Skyrim is based off of Quest 64.
Truly, I'm not, like, no kidding around. Skimming that video made me go like, I got to pick up a copy of this game before it becomes like a sought after rare
honestly,
gem.
yeah. Like John's passion about this.
John's love for it enough makes it just worth having in the collection.
For me,
Hey, my
no
friend
mercy
John
for-
loves this
for
game.
For a
Quest 64.
clunky but like quirky game, like just I will love a game forever if it just did something weird but committed to it.
I agree with that.
It doesn't even need to do it well.
Yeah, just tried something
Yeah.
uniquely.
Yeah. Yeah, tried something unique in earnest, because I don't know, I've played some gimmicky games that are like just gimmicky for gimmick's sake, but yeah, if it's like a clever idea, even if you didn't nail it, I'm like, hey, you thought of a good idea. I'm not going to be mad just because you didn't nail it.
Yeah.